Going for win number 4 tonight as the Sixers look to maybe get a winning streak started as they take on Los Angeles Clippers and, of course, welcoming back a former Sixer, James Harden. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show. And our pregame show, as always, as we hang out with you on a Sunday for some Sunday night hoops, our pregame show presented by Coors Light. And of course, Light, of course, if you want to choose chill, it's going to be a busy Sunday, everybody. So we're going to need you to choose chill. Overall, remember that visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball to get Coors Light delivered or find a store near you. It's going to be a busy one with some basketball. Topping it off with some football a little bit later. Rich Hoffman, Devon Givens, Brianna with you, all of you in the chat. We can't wait for these things to get started this evening. And the Sixers will be first, Rich, as we get some basketball again. Tyrese Maxey, McCain, building off of what they did on Friday night, picking up the win over the Brooklyn Nets. They're going for 2 in a row. Now, this is the third time this season that they're trying to start a winning streak after the 2 overtime victories against Indiana and Charlotte. And tonight it's going to be another tough opponent. But again, even without Joel Embiid and Paul George, you look at this one where the Clippers are starting a 4-game road trip on a 4-game winning streak. But they're without Norman Powell and a few other players as well. An opportunity for the Sixers once again to start a winning streak and maybe win 2 in a row.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one, man. And as you said, plenty of time to choose chill for everybody because normally, man, I'm not a huge fan of the November Sunday basketball games. Like we're football fans too. Like I think we enjoy, instead of a sleepy basketball game, that we have our Sundays. But I would say tonight is different because I am really excited about Jared McCain, and it also lines up perfectly in that it's a late game. It flows right into the Eagles game, and I'm excited. Like, can they get 2 in a row? I think it would be huge, right? And I think it would be huge, not just to stop the bleeding a little bit on their record, but for all of this season, we have talked about, they're just, they can't win undermanned. And I think if they are able to get this win tonight, not only do they only have 1 game over the next 4 days after this, they will kind of have those good vibes into that stretch, but they'll just have a little bit more belief tonight, right? Like they'll just have the belief that, okay, we didn't have Joel or PG, but we won 2 of these games. We know how to play shorthanded. You're going to beat a Clippers team. If you're going to get the win tonight, you're going to beat a team with a good record that is pretty hot right now. So I'm looking forward to this one. Definitely.
And that's the thing. This is one where you look at it and you say, all right, the Clippers are good. James Harden, we'll talk about him in a little bit.
It's gettable, though.
We'll even get to Maxey and McCain, but you're right. It's gettable. It's gettable just like a lot of these other games that they've had that have been winnable basketball games, and they just continue to find a way to lose. And with that, how do they now get out of their own way and try to find a way to win the basketball game? Once you win one, and you win one again, this one they won in regulation where the first 2 were in overtime. So you did so after giving up a double-digit lead, falling down by double digits, and then coming back, showing some resiliency there where you finally found a way to pull through in a tough circumstance. Now, the whole season has been a tough circumstance.
Yeah, it has.
Through the first 15.
A long, tough circumstance.
Exactly. But in this particular one, they figured it out. They figured out a way to get it done.
They were great the other night.
And with that, you look at this team, a team coming in with 4 wins in a row. They're starting a 4-game road trip. They're playing without one of their leading scorer, actually, in Norm Powell. This is one where it is winnable. It is gettable with the things that they've been done. With Nick Nurse, we gave him some credit for what he did in the win against Brooklyn on Friday night. And while you may not have players on Los Angeles that will make boneheaded plays and make boneheaded decisions like we talked about Cam Thomas post-game, this is still one that they can actually take this basketball game. So if they come in focused and they build off of feeling good, having a day off, and knowing that also you can go play all out tonight because you're off for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, before you take on the Houston Rockets on Wednesday. This is game 2 of a homestand. Again, you're going to have the crowd on top of you. The crowd is going to be behind you. They're going to be booing James Harden because of everything that took place.
Reunion weekend, Devon.
It is. It really is. Ben Simmons, James Harden. Do we have anybody with the Houston Rockets? Ime Udoka. He was a coach. He was a coach on the staff for Brett Brown. Maybe you go in that direction. But this is one, as you say, that if they build off of what they did on Friday, knowing that they have a couple of days off, they can really push and put the pedal to the metal tonight against a Los Angeles Clippers team that you can take advantage of.
I know this is kind of an obvious thing to say, but the vibes were just really good coming off of that win the other night. That was a feel-good performance, in part because they won going away. They were the better team for the entire night. Now, it would be nice, Devon, because for a lot of that game, Brooklyn really shot the eyes out of the basketball. It would be nice in one of these shorthanded games when the Sixers, they do everything right. You know, they're pushing the ball up the court. They're rebounding. They're turning the other team over. They're doing everything you can to increase your odds of winning the game. It would be nice, because this has not happened all that much this year, that they shoot it well and the other team doesn't from beyond the arc. And I think when we look at this Clippers team, that's going to be part of the opportunity tonight. This Clippers team, Devon, is, I believe they're 5th in defense so far this year.
106.9 a game.
Yeah. And so, but part of their, the way they do it is they give up a lot of threes, but teams don't really make a ton of threes on them. And I think, it's funny, Kyle, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but when you look at Ivica Zubac, he is a very good center. And I think, I talked with you about this a little bit. Like the center position, there's a lot of good players in the league. There's really not a lot of stiffs. There's not a lot of superstar level players like Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. That's obviously a different category. But, you watch these games, and every night I don't feel like you see a lot of like, man, that's just a bad center they have on the other team. Like, this guy is physical. He gets under the basket. If you play him, if you play small against him, he could really score in the post against people.
He's got good hands.
Yeah, and he's like an average-ish center. But the reason I find this interesting, because Kyle was mentioning what Nick Nurse talked about in the pregame, is that the Sixers have been starting Yabusele for the most part. And that's where I think this game can be won and lost is, okay, do you start Yabusele and lean into, all right, we're going to spread Ivica Zubac out, because as good as he is a traditional center that wants to be around the basket. And if he's got to chase Yabu out to the three-point line, that could be tough, right? It's not exactly trading threes for twos, but it kind of is. And then your driving lanes can get better. Maybe Maxey can get to the rim, those type of things. But Yabu would have his hands full with Zubac on the other hand. So it's kind of the trade-off. Which team can press their strength a little bit better? Can Yabu hold up and maybe just keep Zubac off the board and somebody else has to go get the rebound, those type of things? And can he make threes on the other end? But Nick Nurse kind of mentioned Andre Drummond might get the start tonight. Yeah. And he might say, okay, we're going to go with our similar player to Zubac, guy who has not been quite as good, but maybe Drum can keep him off the rim. But I look at this team, Devon. Our old friend Mo Bamba is the backup center as well. And that's another guy who, I know he can shoot it a little bit from the three-point line. It's not like an unbelievable skill, but he certainly has the ability to step out and make some threes. Having him guard Yabusele out at the three-point line, that seems like that could be difficult as well. So this is a team that I think, kind of the way they have played defense so far this year, it might fall into the Sixers' hands a little bit with these two small guards, their ability to spread the floor and play drive and kick and those things. So for that reason, I think this game could be gettable, in that the Clippers have this strength. They have some good defenders, man. Like Chris Dunn is, he's still in the league right now, and a big part of it is that he is just a pest on the defensive end. He will get in your shirt 94 feet. So we can only guard one of those two. But I do like the matchup here for the Sixers tonight.
No, I do too. And the other part with Zubac is this too, Rich, that they're top 5 in rebounding also. They rebound at 46.2 rebounds a night. And it is Zubac, but it's also James Harden. He will crash the glass. Derrick Jones Jr., you talked about some of these other defenders. Derrick Jones Jr. has established himself as a nice rotational role player, starter on an NBA Finals participant with the Dallas Mavericks, got himself a nice contract. You always root for the local guys. And he has established himself as one who can, in fact, go out there and defend pretty well out there in the perimeter. I wonder where they go with that matchup, if they'll have James Harden on someone else, put a lengthy defender like James Harden on Tyrese Maxey, where Dunn will get McCain and try to throw things off a little bit, and have, let's say, James Harden run around with Caleb Martin or quite possibly Kelly Oubre in that type of matchup situation. So I'm curious to see where that goes too. But they have to, with Zubac there, as you talk about his offense and being that traditional type of center, they have to rebound. Whether it's Yabusele or Andre Drummond, they have to team rebound, because that guy will grab some rebounds there. And as we said, some of those other players, the wings and the guards, they all swoop in to collect those rebounds too. So everybody has to put a body on everyone and team rebound together against this group, because they're going to give themselves the defensive rebounding chances the Clippers are, and they're probably going to give themselves a decent amount of offensive rebounding opportunities as well for those second chance opportunities for the Clippers. And we know where the Sixers do struggle in that category, and it can be very frustrating as we all watch it together as that plays out. So that's going to be a case. And for the starters, as a matter of fact, since you brought it up, we can jump right into it right now because Yabusele gets the 5. It is the City Edition night. They unveiled the new Spectrum uniforms in all white this evening. So
that's going to be so much better than the NBA Cup, right? We're getting we're getting a cool court. We're getting cool uniforms.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's not going to be an eyesore. Yeah. So if McCain goes crazy tonight, he'll look good doing it instead of playing on Boise State's football field, as you mentioned.
Right. Yeah. So, with that, man, I mean, you get Maxey and Jared McCain in the backcourt. Once again, the wings, they stayed the same. Oubre and Martin with Yabusele at the 5. So quickly, your thoughts on that with Yabusele at the 5 instead of Drummond to start off the game?
I like it. I want to see if the Sixers can press their advantage with Yabu spreading the court out. And so as Anthony Cornelia said in the chat, if I'm Nick Nurse, we attack Harden. Completely agree, right? You said they're probably going to put him on Caleb Martin to start or Oubre maybe to start. That's great. They are 100% going to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of this game is going to boil down to, because we know what Harden's going to do. He's going to do the same thing on the other end with Maxey and McCain. Hey, Caleb Martin, James Harden's guarding you. Come on, set us a ball screen and let's see if James wants to dance with Maxey and McCain. Right, that is a lot of what this game is going to boil down to. We know James is probably an underrated defender when it came to guarding bigger players, right?
Especially on a low block.
Yeah,
on the low block. Face up, he gets himself in trouble. But on the low block, he'll defend really well.
He'll be okay. Here's the good news. Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain, they're not going to play on the low block that much, Devon. They're going to be hunting 3-point shots. They're going to be trying to get by him all the way to the cup. So I agree with you, Anthony, that he is somebody who can be attacked in this game. And especially with Maxey and McCain, you have two options to do that. So that's another way they can attack them. Now let's talk about the other side of the ball, because the Clippers, you look at this group, Devon, again, Zubac, good player, but it's a lot of James Harden right now, especially because, like you mentioned, Norm Powell is out right now and he was playing excellent basketball for them. Yeah. They don't have a lot of shot creation on this team. And if you look, Harden's usage rate is up from the last few years. I mean, with the Clippers last year, when he had Kawhi and PG, he was playing a point guard role. With the Sixers, when he was setting up Joel all the time, obviously he had those games. And do you remember he said, he used to be like, man, I'm making all these sacrifices and I'm not playing the style of basketball I want. When really, with the Sixers, he was playing the perfect style of basketball for him, where Joel is the lead dog, you set him up, you get him all of those great looks. And he did a great job of that. It just was so frustrating that, he would, after games, he would mope when he would have, 20 points, 12 assists, they'd score 135. And he's like, we're not playing the style of basketball I want. I haven't watched a ton of them this year, but there's a very innings eater quality to what he's doing offensively, and that they don't have a lot of firepower. He is asked to do a lot. His efficiency is way down. Yeah. Way down. But because they're kind of trading defense for offense with a lot of these players, he's been kind of a good soldier. And obviously, if he was Houston James Harden, he'd be taking all of that responsibility and just lighting the league up. He can't do that, as we know, right? He can't get to the rim like he used to. A lot of his game is reliant on is that step back jumper going in? It's an impossible shot to guard, but it's a really hard shot to make. And, there are going to be nights where you see that 2 for 11 from the 3-point line, and it's like, all right, it's a hard way to win. So, I'm sure he's going to be trying to attack Maxey and McCain. The Sixers will certainly start. Who do you think? Martin gets a start on him tonight, or Oubre?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, one of those two, obviously. So what do? Do you trap him? Do you do other things? But he is clearly their number one option. Might be their number two option.
Yeah,
as well.
And Kevin Porter Jr. is one who is the only one who can really put the ball on the floor and create for himself, but he isn't playing all that great either. I mean, he's averaging 8 points in 17 minutes. Overall, but even when you watch him, you're like, this Kevin Porter experiment is not going all that great. But
No.
This is what Ty Lue has to. This is what he has. This is what he has to go with when you don't have Kawhi Leonard out there to play alongside James Harden and Norm Powell, who's sitting out there tonight. So with that, that's where the Sixers try their best to make a dent in things on the offensive end with Maxey and McCain. And let's get to them combining for 56 the other night. as they led the team to victory. 23 of the 34 in the second half. In the fourth quarter between those two as they brung it home for that victory. They were phenomenal. And I don't think we did enough in talking about what they did. Kyle and Derek coming on, talking about what they did, writing about what they did, of course, that night. They were tremendous. And again, we got our answer of, can they play together? We think they can play together. Now, the question is, how often can they do this, where the scouting report is definitely going to be slowing down them both? And I'm sure it was against the Brooklyn Nets. But you have some longer defenders and some much better defenders tonight than we saw on Brooklyn. So what are you expecting from those two? And is there a way for Nick Nurse to find ways to get them open behind a three-point line? And as you said, Yabusele in the starting lineup, pulling out the defender to give them those driving lanes. Can they get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the option is just going to be, that's fine. You have a good defender on you to start, but if you run a pick and pop with Yabu and Ivica Zubac is just in a deep drop, just throw it back to him, right? Let's let Yabu fire some threes. Maybe he makes one or two and then brings them out. Then you can start driving the basketball. You can start attacking Harden. I think, Devon, Derek was spot on the other night when he mentioned just McCain's poise, right? We can talk about, I was going on about his relocation ability and some of the stuff he did in the mid-range, but just the fact that he isn't phased is a huge deal. And he's doing it against, I know the other night it wasn't the greatest competition in the world. He has 7 straight games of 20-plus points, and some of those teams are excellent defensively with long defenders, and he just keeps doing it every single night. So obviously, that's a big reason why you're excited to watch the game. It's just like, can he continue to do this? And another thing is, can he continue to build a partnership with Maxey, right? Maybe they start to get those two in actions together. I'd love to see some like small pick and rolls, and maybe Jared sets the screen for Tyrese, and it's going to be tough to guard those two things, right? Yeah. You get Tyrese going downhill, you get Jared popping out for threes. There are a lot of fun things Nick Nurse can do. Maybe he put, you see a lot of the times head coaches when there are 2 home games back to back. And I don't know if the Sixers practiced yesterday, but they probably watched film at least, a shoot around. They might have put in 1 or 2 plays in yesterday and said, okay, we're going to run this stuff tomorrow because we like what Jared's doing here. We like what Tyrese is doing here. Let's try and maximize the two of them. So I'm super excited to watch this guy play. Again, like Jared McCain, guys, is just breaking my brain right now. I cannot believe how good he is right now. And it's every single night. It's every single night. So certainly excited to watch him go, and if he can continue to do this.
No shoot around for the Sixers or the Clippers today. No practice for the Sixers yesterday. Just getting out there hooping today, an hour early, by the way. 6 o'clock start instead of the 7 o'clock start. So we get an hour early of some hoops on a Sunday as these guys get out there. And I agree with you. I'm curious to see some of those pick and rolls, those pick and pop situations with both of those guards, switching off defenders and trying to set it up. And look, I trust McCain with his passing just as much as I trust Tyrese Maxey with his passing to try to get those two guys some open shots. I'm curious to see if you do have some cutting situations on the roll where you make a nice bounce pass to one of the smaller guards, beeline into the basket and trying to get something in movement, no dribble, high off the glass that we know Maxey does very well, but we've seen McCain adjust over the last few games, going back to the Orlando game last Friday, where we saw him finishing high off the glass on those levels that they have there. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how they do that, especially when one of them, Maxey especially, gets James Harden, because you know how that's going to go. We see our thumbnail photo of those two, and the text is the mentor versus the protege. And the protege is caught up, man, and he understands, as James Harden talks so much about not playing the way that he wants to, not playing the style of play that he wants. He did say the other day when they were talking about their last win on the other night, where they were talking about the step-back jump shot in today's game. And while he admitted that the step-back has been part of basketball for years, it has evolved into his step-back.
Oh, yeah.
And he's absolutely right.
From 3, like he was the first guy to do that.
He is at that 100% right.
Yeah.
But with that, as we shift our conversation to James Harden here a little bit more, with that, Tyrese Maxey has learned from the best.
100%.
And he has done it at a really, really, really special pace now for where he was coming out of Kentucky, for where the questions were, can he shoot the basketball? to one of the deadliest and one of the best three-point shooters in today's game. And part of it is due to the fact that he has picked up and learned once again from James Harden how to do this. So while Harden does know how it's done and how it's stopped, he does it differently as a right-hander to do it going away, where Harden does it, of course, going back to his right on the step back oftentimes or straight away. Not very often does he do it to his left, where Maxey likes to do it straight back and to his right and sometimes to his left with those steps and how he does it. And James Harden has to catch up and get to it to slow that down. So when you talk about his defense being so good on the low block out there on the perimeter, even though a shot that he has mastered and the game has evolved in learning he has to defend Maxey out there in the perimeter, and his speed also, he will get him off the dribble going to the basket.
Can it just be one of those nights where James was, he had a nice Saturday night last night and he's just not feeling it
Back
tonight?
in Philadelphia, saw some of the old friends, man. The old friends are visiting Philadelphia with him, right?
Just a nice sluggish game where you know 4 minutes into the game, okay, he just doesn't have it tonight. I think your point on what he taught Maxey is a great reminder that not everything is black and white in terms of was the James Harden era in Philadelphia good, bad? Because there are people in the chat, and I completely agree, that Harden was a very flawed player. Like his practice habits in terms of rubbing off on Maxey probably weren't great. There probably are a lot of things that Harden did that you wouldn't teach young players, and they were sluggish at times. His defense wasn't great. But I think he had an undeniably positive impact on Tyrese Maxey, both in terms of just mentally empowering him, because there were times where he would just tell Tyrese, hey, man, you got to stop smiling. You're a killer out there. You need to keep shooting the ball.
But I didn't like that, though, because he can kill in his own way.
Yeah.
And he does, with the smile on his face.
Sure, yeah. He doesn't actually need to take the smile off his face.
Yeah.
That was the difference in personalities between Harden and Maxey. But his main point was, okay, fine, you can still have a smile on your face, but you got to kill. You make those 2 jumpers in a row, let's go back to that play again, right? Keep being aggressive. I'll keep giving you the ball. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, Harden would say, well, we're not playing the style of basketball. So again, there were positives and minuses, right?
Yeah.
Joel Embiid got to that MVP level playing with James Harden. The amount of free throw line jumpers that Joel Embiid got, that James Harden, simple pick and roll, lefty pocket pass. I mean, they were Stockton and Malone, man. They just had that thing down pat. And it got to the point where Boston had to pull out just all the stops. Do you remember in that playoff series, Al Horford, the way they were defending that pick and roll, they were letting Harden go all the way to the basket because they could not let him throw that pocket pass to Embiid. They were getting killed. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that Harden did some good things in Philadelphia, and I think he definitely taught Maxey some things. And when there is a player of Harden's stature reaching out to somebody like Tyrese Maxey, an ascending star in this league, and telling him, come on, man, you got the talent to do this at a really high level, I think that certainly paid off. Now, hopefully Tyrese can teach him show him some of the old tricks that he taught him tonight as Harden is forced to defend him.
One of the other things, too, Rich's point is having him, as much as Maxey practices in the offseason the way that he does, going from Philadelphia to Atlanta to LA, being in Texas since he's a Texas guy, but he would also link up with James Harden in the offseason and get some work in
California
together. Yeah. So with that, even this summer, Tyrese Maxey got paid. And at Rico Hines' runs, when Rico Hines had Harden speaking, he pointed out Maxey and saying, Reese, how we did what we did together, but you did all that work and all that hard work. How much did you get paid this summer? And he's like 200 something. So they're still close, they're still friends. But as you said, you got to go out there and you got to knock your homeboy off tonight, though, and show your mentor what you have learned, what you have done. As you guys, again, while you were desperate in a must-win situation on Friday and you picked up the W, this is also a must-win situation for you because you need to build off and pick up as many wins as possible without George and Embiid on the floor and an opportunity to just collect some W's and keep that good vibe, keep those good vibes going.
And I want to say to everybody in the chat, he couldn't be trusted in Game 7's Harden. He was not an NBA championship caliber player. I get that. I was there for a lot of those games. I've seen his record in closeout games in his career. I agree with all of that stuff. I am just saying, while that was the case, he is still one of the most important players of the last 15, 20 years in the league. He has completely changed the way this game is gotten played in a lot of ways. And so having him around, I think, was a net positive because Tyrese Maxey, who is so great in terms of his work ethic, learning from a guy like Harden, who is just a craftsman offensively, it was certainly a valuable experience. And I'm somebody who can laugh at Harden when he's flopping around and he looks disengaged defensively. Maybe he does that tonight. We'll be laughing about that in 3 hours if that is the case. But there are pluses and minuses to everything. And I think James Harden,
not act like the guy didn't help Maxey and Embiid. Yeah, he helped both. He helped both of those guys.
That's all.
By the way, yes, they did lose the Celtics series. They would have gotten swept if it wasn't for his game 1 and game 4. Game 1 and game 4, they would have gotten swept. So
what a ridiculous series he had. 2 A+ in that series. Those are 2 of the best individual games I've ever seen.
While the A+ from Embiid and Maxey for the 33 and 30 in game 5, he was a B+.
He was a B+.
He almost had a triple-double, 15, 10, and 8.
So here were Harden's games in a row. A+, F, F, A+, B+, F, F. The ultimate boomer bust player, James Harden.
Game 6, I thought he was so well rested for what they did in game 5, and he kind of cruised to that near triple-double. I was like, oh, they're winning this game tonight. And he's the one that's going to have 25, 10, and 6, and they're going to win this game 6, move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. He was F in game 6. F. Big time F. You know what's A+? Our betting. Let's get to the bets. Our best bets of the night as the Sixers take on the Clippers and host James Harden and the Clippers tonight. This pregame segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bree, what do we have here tonight? I have a same game parlay of James Harden. Over 32.5 combined points, assists out there tonight for the game against the Philadelphia 76ers. Tyrese Maxey over 2.5 made threes. He had 2 in the game in the win against Brooklyn on Friday. And with that one, that's a plus 210 same game parlay for those 2 tonight at Bet365. You can get that again by signing up and becoming a member like we are of the Bet365 family. So go ahead and do that. Rich, yours was what?
Old reliable. Gershon Yabusele. 2+ 3-pointers.
Go back
140.
to it.
We're going back to it. Mo Bamba, Ivica Zubac. They're not getting out there, Devon. They're not getting out there. And my guy Yabu is going to make 2 above the break threes tonight. He's going to open up the floor for Tyrese Maxey. He's going to open up the floor for Jared McCain.
You're right.
It's my favorite bet on the board.
You're right. I like it. So if you want to do that again, make sure you use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. This is going to be a fun one tonight with this particular game. It really is. And I'm very curious to see how it all plays out. I cannot wait to see how it plays out in real time because this should be a pretty fun one. I actually wanted to, and I made a mistake in sending the Bree the wrong one because it was a 38.5 one that I wanted to get to points, rebounds, and assists of James Harden. I felt like that was a pretty good number, but the number there is pretty good. So if you want to jump to the points, rebounds, and assists 38.5, that's also a really good one for Bet365.
He could get a lot tonight, and it's just because
no Norm Powell.
No Norm Powell. I mean, he is really... He's all they got, Devon. And I expect some possessions tonight where he drives to the paint and he's got nothing, right? He's got no lift. He's got no burst to get past people. I think, you know, it could be another good bet, honestly. Yabu blocks, Drummond blocks, right? Because he'll just throw some BS up there and really could get fouled. Like, he really is their innings eater. So that will be fun to watch. Do you think the crowd will be booing him?
Not as much. He came back last year and they didn't hammer him with it. So I don't think so. But you know what's going to be out there tonight? They're going to be in their road uniforms because the last time James Harden was here, they were in their blue Spectrums when James Harden was here a few seasons ago. Tonight, they are in the white Spectrums. We saw those with the starting lineup, but you mentioned the court. So Bree has a treat for you and everybody else. Let's take a look at the floor and how cool the court looks there with the Sixers old school Spectrum.
Love it.
Beautiful. They got the more modern day 7-6 that they had with the navy blue uniforms a couple of seasons ago. That's a tremendous court that they did. That is, I love that court. Love that court.
And just like James Harden in the 2023 playoffs against Boston, we go from an F to an A+. Because Friday night's court, I think we're done with Sixers NBA Cup courts. Woo, that's bad. That thing looks clean, beautiful. And hopefully we have a game to match that court today.
That is. So, folks, that'll do it for us here on our pregame show. Our pregame show, once again, presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball to get your Coors Light delivered or find a store near you. WL, feeling good? Feeling a little close game?
I think it's going to be a close game.
I agree.
And here's the thing. I think they're going to win the night.
Love it. Love it. That means it starts the night off perfectly with the Eagles they're following in Los Angeles.
I just think the Clippers I know that they have a good record, but I think they are outplaying their talent level, and I think the Sixers can get them tonight.
One of my bold predictions at the start of the season was they do not make the playoffs. So they are playing a little bit over their head right now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We see teams get out to those hot starts.
And slow down.
Ty Lue has done a nice job with
good
them.
coach.
Obviously,
Very
good coach. Harden is doing his best. They're obviously playing really good defense, but I wouldn't say that your preseason prediction is going to be wrong right away. Yeah.
All right, the 3-12 Sixers host the 10-7 James Harden-led Clippers. Will they get the victory? Well, you got to watch to find out. What we hope you do is tune in with us post-game as we link in together and talk about whatever takes place over the next course of 2.5 to 3 hours. For Rich Hoffman, Brianna, I'm Devon Givens. We'll join you after the game. Hope to see you here on the PHLY Sixers post-game show. See you then.
We all silly like the mayor.